Imagine this. You just got the keys, and now you're walking up to one of the most prestigious SUVs in its class. The design looks sharp, the proportions are right, and it has the kind of presence that makes you look back at it one more time. You open the door, bright leather, premium materials, technology everywhere you look. Then you check the second row, and for a luxury SUV in this segment, it's surprisingly spacious. But that's not what you'll remember most, because every time you get behind the wheel, you see the screens, you feel the craftsmanship, and you remember exactly why you chose it. Now the question is, was it the right choice? Then you open the door again, and the interior immediately gets your attention one more time. The combination of brown and gray leather looks premium without trying too hard. The perforated seats add another level of luxury, and once you start adjusting the driver's seat, you realize just how much customization BMW gives you. Seat angle, leg support, backrest position, everything can be adjusted exactly the way you want it. And one feature you'll really appreciate on longer drives is the extendable thigh support. It may seem like a small detail, but after a few hours behind the wheel, it makes a big difference. And another thing you notice right away, you're sitting higher than you might expect. You still get that sporty BMW driving position, but now you also get the confidence and the visibility that come from sitting higher off the ground. And one more thing, you got this car from United BMW in Alpharetta, and there's a reason why. When it comes to BMW in this area, they're simply one of the best. And of course, the first thing you want to do is start it. The start button sits right here on the center console. You press it, the vehicle comes to life, and suddenly you remember, there's a reason people keep coming back to this brand. You know the engine matters, and we'll get to that in a minute, because there's something interesting hiding there. But before that, your eyes immediately go to the head-up display. Large, sharp, and packed with information. It's one of those features you think you'll ignore until you realize you're using it every single time you drive. And then there's the overall feeling of the cabin, because this doesn't feel like a vehicle that was built just to hit a price point. It feels like it was built to impress you every time you get inside. The materials, the finishes, the details. Almost everywhere you reach, touch, or rest your hand, something feels soft, solid, and genuinely premium. And that's when you start realizing something. This isn't just a nice SUV, it feels like a true luxury vehicle. Then you start looking around, and one of the first things that catches your attention is the door panel. It feels futuristic. The ambient lighting isn't just a thin strip hidden somewhere in the trim, it's integrated into the design itself. And with a single tap, you can completely change the mood of the cabin. Different colors, different themes, different styles. And yes, this is one of those features that looks impressive at night. But what really stands out is the attention to detail. The door handle feels solid, the mix of materials feels premium. You have leather, metallic accents, and even fabric inserts. Then you notice something unusual, this small control marked from 0 to 1. At first, it almost looks like a volume knob, but it's actually how BMW lets you adjust the airflow from the side vent. Simple, clean, and surprisingly intuitive once you start using it. And the same idea continues across the dashboard. Even the center air vents have their own controls, so you can open, close, or fine-tune the airflow exactly the way you want it. Then you put your hands on the steering wheel, and immediately it feels like a BMW. You have the M badge right in front of you. The wheel itself has a great balance, soft where it needs to be, firm where it should be, and the thickness feels just right. Behind it, you have paddle shifters, ready whenever you want a little more control. And what you'll also appreciate is that BMW didn't completely abandon physical controls. The buttons are integrated beautifully into the design. They look modern, but when you press them, you still get real feedback, something that's becoming rare in newer vehicles. Then your attention moves to the center console. Wireless charging, USB-C ports, cup holders, everything is exactly where you'd expect it to be. And surrounding it all is this ambient lighting element that really comes alive at night. Combined with the M details, it gives the entire cabin a more premium and sporty feel. Right in the center, you'll find the main vehicle controls. The gear selector looks futuristic. The drive mode controls are within easy reach. And unlike some modern vehicles that hide everything behind a screen, these controls still give you that satisfying physical click when you use them. The volume knob is still here, and honestly, you'll probably use it more than the touchscreen. But the feature BMW owners know and love is still sitting right here, the iDrive controller. And once you start using it, you understand why BMW keeps it. You can navigate through the infotainment system, move around menus, control settings, and even adjust different views of the 360-degree camera system without constantly reaching for the screen. It's fast, it's intuitive, and after a few days of ownership, it becomes second nature. And honestly, you want to jump into the technology, because there's a lot to talk about. But before that, you find yourself walking back outside one more time, just to look at it again, because this is the choice you made. And the design is one of the biggest reasons why. The proportions are right, the stance is aggressive, and it looks modern from every angle. Then you notice the details. The flush door handles integrated into the body, the large M wheels filling the arches perfectly, massive brake calipers sitting behind them, and the entire package gives this SUV a much more athletic appearance than you'd expect. Move to the front, and it's hard not to stare at it for a moment. The lighting signature is unlike anything BMW used to do. The illuminated grille, the futuristic daytime running lights, the aggressive front bumper from the M Sport package. Everything works together to make this vehicle instantly recognizable, especially at night. And that's something you'll appreciate every time you walk up to it in a parking lot. Then you make your way to the rear, and somehow it looks just as good. The wider stance, the sculpted tailgate, the aggressive rear bumper, the subtle spoiler, the dark exterior accents. Everything comes together perfectly. And standing back for a second, you start remembering exactly why you chose this one. Because it's not just transportation, it's something you actually enjoy looking at every time you walk away from it.
And after spending some time with the design, the interior, and all the little details, you naturally start paying attention to the technology because there's a lot of it. In fact, this feels like one of those vehicles where you'll keep discovering new features months after buying it. One of the first things you'll probably play with are the different drive modes: sport, personal, efficient. And what's interesting is that these modes don't just change the way the vehicle drives, they change the entire atmosphere inside the cabin. The gauge cluster changes, the steering response changes, the throttle response changes, even the ambient lighting adapts to the mode you've selected. So it almost feels like you're driving a different vehicle with the press of a button. But honestly, that's only scratching the surface. Because the real technology story starts right here with the infotainment system. And this is where you could spend hours because almost everything is customizable. Want weather information? It's right there. Need navigation? Open the map instantly. And one of the coolest parts is that the navigation doesn't have to stay on the center display. You can project it directly in front of you. Whether it's the digital gauge cluster or the head-up display, the information follows exactly where you want to see it. And that's what makes this system feel so advanced. It's not just showing information, it's showing the information that actually matters to you. Different layouts, different widgets, different views. You choose what you want to see every time you get behind the wheel. And speaking of displays, the head-up display deserves its own conversation because it's not one of those basic systems that only shows your speed. This one is large, colorful, easy to read, and after a few days of ownership, you start relying on it more than you expected. Navigation directions, speed limits, driver assistance information, everything appears directly on the windshield right in your line of sight, to the point where you barely need to look down anymore. And that's when you realize something. This vehicle isn't loaded with technology just to impress you on day one. It's the kind of technology you'll keep appreciating every single day you own it.
Of course, not everything is perfect. One thing you'll have to get used to is the climate control system.
Most of the functions live inside the display, and if you're coming from a vehicle with traditional buttons, it might take a few days before it becomes second nature, but once you learn where everything is, it becomes pretty easy to use. And honestly, BMW gives you so many other technologies that you quickly stop thinking about it, because every time you're parking, you'll probably be looking at the 360-degree camera system. The image quality is excellent, the different camera angles are useful, and it makes placing the vehicle in tight spaces surprisingly easy, especially when you're dealing with expensive wheels and tight parking lots. But BMW takes it one step further because this vehicle can actually help park itself. With Parking Assistant, the SUV can identify a parking space and handle much of the work for you. And that's really the story of this entire vehicle. Technology isn't here just to impress you. It's here to make ownership easier every single day. Before we finally get on the road, there's one more area you'll probably want to check out, the second row. Because no matter how much you love driving, this is still an SUV. And honestly, for an X3, the space back here is impressive. If someone around 6 feet tall sits behind you, there's still enough room to stay comfortable. You also get rear air vents, USB-C ports, and a convenient storage shelf for everyday items. Fold down the center armrest, and you'll find integrated cup holders ready for longer trips. One thing worth mentioning, the rear seats don't recline. Some buyers may wish BMW included that feature, but it's something you'll simply have to live with. What you probably won't complain about is the panoramic roof, because it's huge. It floods the cabin with natural light and makes the entire interior feel much larger than it already is. BMW also uses multi-layer glass construction with thermal and acoustic insulation, helping reduce heat, UV exposure, and outside noise. And this is one of those features everyone notices the moment they step inside. It makes every seat in the vehicle feel a little more special. And before we finally get on the road, let's take one more look at the cargo area. The first thing you'll notice is that the rear seats fold completely flat, and BMW uses a 40-20-40 split folding design, which gives you a lot of flexibility. Whether you're carrying passengers, luggage, or something longer like skis, you have plenty of options. Open the power tailgate, or simply wave your foot underneath the rear bumper and let the hands-free tailgate do the work for you. It's one of those features you don't think about much until your hands are full. And then you quickly realize there's more than enough space back here for everyday life. Groceries, road trips, airport runs. It all fits without much effort. You'll also find a cargo cover in the back, and even small details like that feel premium to the touch. Under the floor, there's something many buyers still appreciate, an actual spare tire, which is becoming harder and harder to find these days. The cargo area itself is nicely finished. Soft touch materials, quality trim, and none of it feels cheap. Nothing flashy, just a practical, well-designed cargo area that fits the personality of the vehicle perfectly. And now, it's finally time to talk about what's under the hood. Because all the screens, luxury features, and technology are great, but at the end of the day, this is still a BMW, and that means the driving experience matters. Under the hood, you'll find a 2.0-liter TwinPower Turbo inline-4 engine paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. Combined, it produces 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Power is sent to all four wheels through BMW's xDrive all-wheel drive system and an 8-speed automatic transmission. And honestly, when you first hear 4-cylinder, you might not know what to expect. But after a few minutes behind the wheel, you realize BMW has done a really good job here. The engine feels responsive, the transmission is smooth, and thanks to the mild hybrid system, the power delivery feels immediate when pulling away from a stop. The vehicle never feels slow. And for daily driving, there's more than enough power available whenever you need it. Whether you're merging onto the highway, passing slower traffic, or simply driving around town, the powertrain always feels ready. What you'll probably notice even more is how refined everything feels. The cabin stays quiet, the engine rarely draws attention to itself, and the entire vehicle feels solid at speed. Then you switch into sport mode. The gauge cluster changes, the ambient lighting changes, the throttle becomes more responsive, and suddenly the X3 feels a little more eager to play. Not because it's pretending to be a sports car, but because it still remembers it's a BMW. And that's something you'll feel in the steering as well. The vehicle feels planted, confident, and surprisingly agile for an SUV. It doesn't feel oversized. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels easy to place exactly where you want it on the road. And then there's the fuel economy. Even with all-wheel drive, this X3 is rated at approximately 27 miles per gallon combined, which is impressive considering the performance, technology, and practicality you're getting. And after spending time behind the wheel, you start realizing something. This vehicle isn't trying to be the fastest or the most aggressive. It's trying to be the luxury SUV that does everything well. And honestly, that might be exactly why so many people end up choosing it.